Hello, everyone. This is your Frontier opening bell for today. The final trading day of the week is February the 21st. I am boosting number 5. Just a quick run through the markets. As always, the Nigerian on the equity side was very tight, 0.04% on Thursday after we saw a couple of trading within the banking, oil and gas space. The insurance and consumer goods finished in the green. However, the BRVM continued to rally in West Africa. That's the code of us. French-speaking West Africa, 1.21%. The BRVM is now looking for a new high. That will be 230 on the composite. If that happens anytime between now and next week, let's see how the market continue. Yesterday was the final trading day in Cairo. The market will resume on Sunday. The EGX30 was 30,914. The Nairobi stock market was 0.23%. That's roughly 0.25% at 133.63. The GSE returned to positive reading 0.6% Thursday. So that's just a look back at Thursday's market across the Frontier Africa space. The Zimbabwe market was just 0.07%. That's about less than 1/10 of a percent, as it were. The rand finished on the upside against the dollar yesterday. The Nigerian currency also finished on the NAFEX about 1% to on the dollar, 1,494 on the day that the Nigerian Central Bank announced the new decided to hold interest rate unchanged 27.5% of your pardon, 27.5% until the next meeting, which will be on the 19th and the 28th of May. That's according to the new monetary policy calendar, which the central bank just released. So keep those in mind. But let's get out of the markets numbers, as it were, and move into the biggest stories. East Africa is the Kenya Airways reporting that it's acquired a new Boeing 737 170-seat aircraft. That is taking the total aircraft in the fleet of this iconic African airliner to 35. In Zimbabwe, the Longhorn Publishers listed on the Nairobi Bourse, reporting first half 2024-2025 period, revenue down 45.9%. Loss after tax came in about 148 million shillings. Net cash from operations was reported at 6.2%. That came overnight. In Uganda, sticking with the East Africa and Central Africa, Uganda is looking at about $130 million to compensate power distribution companies for their losses, while Ethiopian Airlines is now beating the cost-saving targets set for itself by 32%. That's according to a report just released by the Ethiopian Investment Holdings, which is in charge of Gulf state-owned assets in Ethiopia. In DR Congo, the country says it's looking to open the Futa refinery in late 2025. And of course, the whole DRC crisis is still there. This morning, we got news that the Foreign Affairs Office in Kenya is asking Kenyans who are living in DR Congo to take extra caution because of the widening crisis there. As we saw, the M23 rebels making advances beyond the eastern region of Goma. That's some of the headlines in the East African community. In West Africa, Nigeria's central bank held interest rates headed at 7.5%. Other indices were also retained for the first time this year, and it's the first time since May 22 by the central bank. And we'll see where the second meeting for this year will look like. Investors, however, are piling into the fixed income market. Yesterday, we saw about 700 billion naira in fixed income trading at the FMDQ Securities Exchange. That takes the total fixed income in bonds, NTBs, and open market papers so far this week at FMDQ to about 1 trillion naira. Just 4 sessions so far this year as Nigerians decided to hold interest rate unchanged. The central bank NTB auction on Wednesday was heavily subscribed. Rates were on the downside. When as a 1-year paper at the primary auction of the central bank below the 20% reading. Within the Nigerian market, the VFD Group has approved additional 5 billion naira in capital boost for this own microfinance company known as VFD Microfinance Bank Limited. In Mali, Barrick Gold and the authorities have reached a deal to resolve the mining dispute. The gold being taken from the mine in Mali has been seized previously by the military junta. That been a lot of discussions. Now they've been able to resolve that dispute. In Niger, next door, the commission is proposing a 5-year transition to democracy. Niger was where we saw a military push also just a couple of years ago. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have exited the ECOWAS community, and they issued their own passports. And Niger Republic is asking Nigerians visiting the country not to use the West African common passport. Those are some of the developments in West Africa. Let me take that very quickly to Southern Africa. For the first time, Africa is hosting the G20 ministers meeting. President Ramaphosa was at the top of the table yesterday to start a meeting. Collaboration, cooperation is what all members are talking about. China sent a delegation to the meeting. United States Secretary of State is not attending, but they sent a junior government envoy to attend the meeting in Pretoria. In the meantime, the IMF team is currently in Mozambique for a talk on economic assessment of the country, looking to further its relationship with Washington. Vodacom in South Africa is looking at a double-digit profit growth by the year 2030. In Zambia, the country says it's lifting 15% export tax on precious metals and stones. That is good news, as we saw prices of basic resources climbing on the back of the gold rally that we've seen since the start of the year. Bullion had climbed 12% since the year started, one of the hottest assets on planet Earth as we speak, as we saw central banks around the world are piling up more reserves of the bullion. Let's move on to Botswana. Central banks yesterday held interest rate unchanged, 1.90%. A similar story we saw in Egypt. That takes you to North Africa, where the central bank in Cairo also held the benchmark interest rate unchanged because inflation and FX rates are being considered, as well as the economic reform of President El-Sisi. Within the North African corridor, Royal Air Maroc and Vivo Energy says they're launching their first Morocco-European flight that will be running on sustainable fuel and not on fossil fuel. That's some news that everyone is watching very closely, this collaboration between Royal Air Maroc and Vivo Energy. Finland and Morocco says they're looking at business relations. The Casablanca seminar, they're trying to hold down this relationship between the North African economy and Finland in Europe. And finally, Egypt's foreign minister told the G20 meeting that Egypt is committed to stabilizing the ceasefire that has been reached between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Egypt says it's played a critical role there, and that it was what the finance minister told the G20 meeting on Thursday, where that meeting started. So let's see how the rest of the trading day looks like here from South Africa. That's been your opening bell for today. Have a great day ahead, and of course, we'll see you at the other side after the end of the weekend. Bye for now.